welcome to episode 2 of the Peasant Lounge, brought to you by WROL. I am Rundown, and with me is Protensis.
Howdy.
Tonight, we're going to be going over pretty much a newbie to mid-game farm list of characters that, in our opinion, should be the ones gone after. It's not a tier list. I refuse to do tier lists for beginning and mid-game, in my opinion. I don't know if Pretensis shares that opinion, but I am not a fan of doing tier lists for beginning and mid-game.
I am not a fan of it for the fact that certain characters are great until you get to certain parts of the game, and then
Yep.
they fall off. And
that's just it. And some characters are just not available.
exactly. And then you have characters that are on one node that take forever and a day to farm, that by the time you get them usable, you probably have better than them.
And you're ready for endgame.
Right, and you're ready for endgame, so this discussion probably doesn't revolve around you.
Exactly. But, not sure how you want to get this list started. I mean, I can go through what I've got, because I typed out a list like I told you off recording.
Let's go
we can go from there.
Let's go with the list and then just kind of go with reactions to that list. And that way we're not just going through two different lists and being like, yeah, sure. And then it's more fluid that way.
Yeah. So I have a list of pretty much every leader that you can farm in the campaign on my list of farmable characters, because having an array of leaders to help you deal with whatever situations may come your way team-wise is, in my opinion, a good way to go. Obviously, Hal Jordan with 7 campaign nodes. Cheetah's got 7 campaign nodes as a blue character, and she's also farmable in Red Alert, so you get a couple different ways to get her shards. I have Zatanna, because she can do some decent damage and can heal your team. Survival Suit Lex Luthor, obviously. For obvious reasons, everyone uses Lex. The overheals are amazing. The debuffs when you get them to the buff immunity that you can put on people when you get them in Legendary is good. He's all around probably still one of the best leaders in the game, and he's heavily farmable. And then you have Green Arrow, Emerald Archer. I slept on him. I didn't get him, but I talked to you about how I dealt with my my trash fire of a roster. So this is a very much a list of do as I say, not as I do scenario, because this was me learning from mistakes. I also have Cyborg, believe it or not, because farming him is easy. He's in the campaign. I know a lot of people don't really like using him outside of raids, but he's a leader, and he can hit pretty hard. But he's farmable through the Alliance shop. And I think through the campaign, so getting him ready for raids is not a bad idea. And then you have Deadshot.
Deadshot and Cyborg, the two overlooked can't miss characters.
Yep. And they're and exactly like you just said, they are can't miss characters. Cyborg, like I said, is great for raids. What tier is he for raids that WRO put?
I want to say he was close to... Let's see here.
Bring that up? Sorry, guys.
In C tier for raids.
C tier for raids, but
you've got Scarecrow, where that C tier and his can't miss becomes A right off the bat.
Yep.
Especially for mid-games where your options of getting... And this is something else that we'll discuss going into this. The fact that there are characters that are listed higher in the tiers for N that we won't have in tiers here, like Owlman, because they're simply put outside of getting... Right. Yeah. Outside of getting packs and being able to spend gems on them, you're not going to be able to farm them. So will be nice when available. Yep. Until then... for new players, don't stress that you don't have them. There's alternatives.
But do you share my opinion on farming pretty much all the leaders?
Yeah. Because I find myself, even at Gear 9, switching in and out between Lex and Martian Manhunter, and for the pesky blues that I really want to kill fast and get through the fights with, that Deadshot lead, the automatic crit, and just be done with them.
It's also a great counter to Harley Quinn Mad Jester because they can't miss.
Also, for those wondering, it's a perfect, I won't say perfect, but it is a great counter to Cassandra Cain, which is another annoying because he cannot miss her, which means if you use his first shot on her, especially with his, big hit that he has, takes her right out of the game fast.
And that's why Cyborg is a good counter to her too, because another can't miss character and affinity advantage.
Yes.
So there you go. Obviously, for obvious reasons, Hal Jordan, because it's Hal Jordan and he's still one of the best leaders of the game, even if he doesn't hit overly hard with his basic. He's not meant to. He's meant to call assists. He's meant to do crit immunity.
He does full debuff immunity at the beginning of fights.
Yep.
So again, he was
I don't have him leveled up, and I should have.
He was a great choice for the Scarecrow raid if you didn't have Owlman, because the debuff immunity, at least for a couple of turns, protected you from the hit down chances enough to where Miss Martian and whoever you had in your third spot, which was for me was Martian Manhunter, and then ended up having Deadshot or Cyborg switch in and out for that fourth spot. She was keeping them under buffed and those debuffs off of them after those debuff immunities ran off with her cleanse and call assist shield move that she has. So it was one of those where it just worked out perfectly. So there was alternatives even through raid that most people just, the frustration set in, most people weren't thinking about it. It kind of felt like offering help during that situation with some of those characters, you were just, adding to people's frustrations.
Yeah, people were heated. That raid, people were heated.
Ooh, yeah, it was super heated, and at the end, I even made a couple comments where it was just like, "Hey guys, if we're not going to be frustrated, write these guys down because you'll need them next raid."
Because next Halloween, when they throw this Scarecrow raid at us again, you'll have these characters ready to go rather than getting enraged. Don't sleep on the can't miss characters for Scarecrow raids.
Exactly.
That's pretty much the moral of that story, or the characters that can overcome those debuffs like Owlman and Steppenwolf. But again, these characters are not easily farmable, so that's not what we're talking about today. So we just got off on a little tangent, and that's okay. I have only one support character, and that's Star Sapphire. The reason why I'm saying Star Sapphire, and Prudence is making a face at me, she only has one node in the campaign, but she is very available to farm in red alerts. And her rework is amazing and a great counter Lex.
I was making the face because I was getting to the point where I was just like, alright, so I really want to drop this bit of advice on Star Sapphire. If she's the 25 frag in red alert, refresh. Just refresh. I was having a hard time holding that comment back. I wanted to just jump in the middle of it and be like, refresh every time she's 25. Because she is that good. She is that counter to Lex now that we've all been asking for, especially at mid-game where Lex can just almost single-handedly run over your squad with everything that he can do.
Yeah, her third ability just neuters him.
And the fact that she's got that debuff immunity on her third, you open with that, and it instantly shuts down Lex squads. Shuts down Lex squads. If not, shuts them down prior to them getting started, stops them in their tracks. Yep. I cannot speak more highly of the Star Sapphire rework than...
I think it's probably one of the better reworks I've seen in a while. She's amazing now.
Honestly, I would grade her rework on the level of Hippolyta's rework.
Yep.
Where it took a character that was at times and turned them into a holy crap, this is almost can't miss now.
Yep. It's just a lot of people have been talking about a counter to Lex because you see Lex Luthor everywhere. He's on every team now, and like every competitive team you see Lex lead. My boards are usually full of Lex leads. So I try to squeeze in Star Sapphire wherever I can now, and just try to make sure I have tunes that can throw some smackage down on the rest of the team before those buffs wear off, or I'm able to kill off Lex so they overheal, so that way the debuffs don't fall off and overheal kicks in.
And what I absolutely love about her is she actually, once she gets overhealed, those double smacks when she gets overhealed.
Double pop, because she's still hitting you with strength downs. She's still hitting you with intelligence downs, and she's hitting you pretty good for damage. So it's a trifecta of F you to the face. So the Star Sapphire work is amazing. So I can't stress enough, because you can. She only has one note in the campaign, but you can get her in red alerts, and you can farm her pretty decently in red alerts. She comes up often. But
Yeah, and I'm looking at the prior month's tier list, and I'm looking at her at C tier, like, yeah, that's gonna
that
change.
just got bumped up.
That just got bumped up.
Because the speed of her double pops is going to be amazing in raids.
Well, and you pointed out a great thing with her under St. Walker lead, where you
Yep.
call her to assist, and she's doing 4 instead of 2, and there's not much that is going to survive that
So
if they could survive the first one to begin with.
Here's a funny thing what I've seen. If I'm down to only St. Walker and Star Sapphire, I call assist St. Walker himself. He double pops, and then she pops off 4 times. So that's 6 attacks potentially on him, on one character if the RNG goes in the right direction. That's 6 rapid fire attacks.
Call her assist with Dead Man.
Right? Oh my god!
Call her assist with Dead Man, and it's pretty
Call
much
assist is all over the place, man. I love call assist. It's one of my favorite abilities in the game, but that's no secret.
it's just one of those ones where it was like, oh man, I've seen overhealed greens get just decimated by her.
Oh yeah.
In one shot, and it's like, okay, she's still got a second one, but I guess we don't need that right now.
Yeah, there's been a couple of fights where I thought I was going to lose, and it was down to St. Walker and Star Sapphire by themselves. And I call assisted St. Walker on himself just to see what would happen, just to see if the call assist would work the way I thought it would, and literally watched a character get attacked 6 times, and it was gorgeous. I think it was Power Girl too. Like Power Girl got obliterated.
Just owning Power Girl left and right. Who, by the way, I think we're going to get into the subject of those tanks next, right?
Yeah, we can go down to the Taunters. Yeah, absolutely.
Or are we going down to the Taunters, or because I'm looking at the support list, and it's a very short list at early.
It really is.
It's a very short list at early.
And the only one I have, like I said, on my list for support is Star Sapphire.
Yeah, it's just a
I
really.
mean, I guess you could argue Zatanna could be a support character because of her healing, but she's a leader character as well.
You could argue quite vexing because of her raid support,
but she's not farmable.
She's a red alerts, and that's about it. So.
Oh, that's right. She is a red alerts, but yeah, but that's it. So I guess but she doesn't. She's not one of the ones that comes up like a big time.
Yeah, she's not a frequent one.
Yeah, she comes up maybe. I'm not sure how frequent, but it's not often. You do get a decent amount when she comes up, though. I'd have to take a look and see how often she comes up.
So this month alone, she'll only be up for 74 frags for November. So she's going to be one that if you see her out there and you have the extra gems to spare, yeah, sure, go for the refreshes. If you don't, there's going to be another month where she's out there more. And that's kind of how it works with red alerts. It's a Swamp Thing month with him having 114.
Right, and we'll get to those characters too. But yeah, we'll go to Taunters next. So Taunters, I've got Solomon Grundy because you can get him in the campaign and red alerts. And Grundy smacks. He can resurrect himself. And when you get him to Legendary, he's a turn 0 Taunter. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
Right, and
especially against the green team.
For those that are playing the home game, you just saw me make a face like, turn 0 Taunters at early game, especially a blue that can kind of soak Arcus's damage.
Yep.
If not soak it, he's going to pop back up from his res at least once in order to keep him going. So
and retaliates.
Yeah, and
how many Arcuses have death immunity right now in early to mid game?
If he's enraged and he retaliates,
and he hits a green, it's game over.
Welcome to game over.
Yeah. So this one is going to be, this one's going to be one of those ones that you're bringing her in to sacrifice her, in my opinion. That's Harley Quinn, Mad Jester. She's campaign farmable, and you can get her through the Red Shards PvP shard. So she's easily farmable. She eventually becomes a turn 0 taunter. She can do some decent damage. She throws intelligence downs, which is great against special damage characters. Um, she retaliates. She can enrage other characters, which, I mean, depending on the character, might not necessarily be a good thing, like Grundy
Right.
or Guy Gardner. But but the good thing about her is that um, she's a red taunter, and there aren't that many in early game. So she's a red character that taunts, and there aren't any that's farmable really in early to mid game, unless you spend money when they pop up.
Or you get extremely lucky and your PvP packs give you Barda,
Right.
which, yeah.
You have to be really lucky.
And
That's not even on my farm list because there's no guarantee.
yeah, I mean, we could talk about packs and the characters in packs all day, but on the flip side of that, like you said, the Alliance shop with being able to spend tokens directly for characters, you can get your leads like Deadshot Hired Gun from there.
Yep.
It's worth investing in some of the characters from the shop, which
Yep.
I think we'll get to later.
Which
I'm
way
jumping
you
ahead.
get those shards through playing PvP anyway, so it's free shards,
Right.
And so the reason why I say you're bringing her in to sacrifice her is because her ability to dodge is not great. It's very heavily RNG based, and the more like if a character swings at her and they miss, she has a chance to get the evasions. Is that what it? Let me see. Yeah, the evasion ups. As you bring her up and gear up and stuff like that. So that percentage, I mean, if you're able to get her ramped up, when she works amazing. The problem is that she doesn't always work. So when you're bringing her in, it's to taunt, take the heat off of characters you're trying to ramp up, and chances are you're going to lose her. So don't go in expecting a 3-star win when you bring her in.
And then be pleasantly surprised when you get one because she worked perfectly like you were supposed to.
Right. Especially early to mid game, you're bringing her in to die.
Yeah, you're pretty much bringing her in for the initial part of the fight to, even if it's a campaign node, just to make sure that that damage gets soaked by somebody.
Right.
And then getting
to ramp up
through it.
Arcus, to ramp up anyone, really.
Absolutely. But when those magical moments happen where she evades 17 straight shots and then counterattacks and everybody's like, yeah, she's doing her job, only for the next fight, her to instantly die in the first turn.
Right? So, I still say she is worth farming because when she works amazing. But she can be a frustrating character. Still worth farming, still worth getting. Because she does do decent damage and she does her job. When she does her job, she does it amazing.
I'm also going to toss this in to this because I think it's a great viewpoint to look at when it comes to Harley Quinn. She is a streamer's best friend and worst enemy.
Oh my god.
When she works amazing on stream, we can get excited about it. When she dies, it gives us a failure to laugh at for about 5 minutes.
Or you want to throw your keyboard through the window.
Right? So it's one of those things where it's like, it may be streamer bias that we're saying farmer. Because she makes great content.
Infuriating and satisfying all at the same time, just like her character in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a popular one, Chemo. Chemo is a taunter and lots of debuffs. Doom, throwing Doom on somebody. Watching them, so he's a great character to have for a taunter. He can take a hit. And he's easily farmable. I believe he comes up in red alerts often, and he's campaign farmable. So,
and the beautiful
can't stress that enough. Don't sleep on Chemo like I did.
The beautiful part about Chemo is he also gives you something in early game that you really kind of don't have access to in speed downs.
Yes.
He can even up a fight really, really fast while soaking decent damage if he gets lucky at certain points with that taunt. Unless he gets legendary and you get the pre-taunt first, it's still a little bit of luck and RNG attached to him, but he's got enough other skills to make up for that, especially in early game where speed downs are just something you don't get to see. The bleeds, the disease, and the fact that, so I had to do this morning inside of our Discord with talking about debuffs. And for those that aren't aware of what disease does, the, what is it, 3% true damage to the entire team if one
And it
person is
spreads.
diseased,
Yep.
and has a 15% chance to spread to somebody else, so it could rack up to 12% at
Yep.
one time. It won't be every turn, but it'll be that specific character's turn, but it'll still be 12% overall.
Unchecked, it can wreak havoc on your team.
So it, yeah, and at early game when there's no counters for that because you don't have, you may not, I shouldn't say don't, you may not have a cleanse available yet
Right.
that is dangerous to all hell and back for early
Right.
and mid game. And I feel really, I feel salty for the guys that are sitting there like, Chemo just ruined my team in red alerts. Avoid him in red alerts at all
Yes.
possible until you get a counter for him, like Hal Jordan lead or a cleanser, or you get lucky and magically there's a great sale for somebody like Miss Martian that can
Yep.
kind of pop that off a character with a
Yep.
turn that's on an easy
Blocker.
cooldown. Yeah.
But I mean, these are characters you're going to be looking to buy or hoping for an event for. So it's just like, and I'm never going to say, you should buy a character, because you shouldn't. Especially early and mid game, you shouldn't.
I have made that mistake,
Yep.
and I will never. I
Unless
did
it's
it
a
for
character,
science.
like I said, unless it's a character you really want because it's your favorite character, or it's going to progress you to a legendary because you only need you need that number of shards or something like that. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say don't buy.
Oh yeah, and we did it for science on the stream
Yep.
with getting some of the newer characters and testing them out, and that was, I won't say it was a full blown regret because I loved the guys that I bought, and what I bought wound up giving me enough gems to level other characters up with them, gear out, bring out, all that. But at the same point, I would never be like, yes, I'm expecting you to drop X amount of money or X amount of gems on this character
Right.
when it comes out, because no, no.
And what we're saying is, we're not saying don't ever buy a character. What we're saying is you don't need to.
Absolutely. You'll never hear it out of my mouth, which is buy this when it's out now, unless it's one of the person's favorite characters, or it's one of the rare can't miss that hardly ever show their faces, and the
Yep.
deal is especially good,
Yep.
but few and far between.
Right. But especially for early game, I mean, let's say I'm just starting the game. I'm 1 month into the game, and this amazing Larfleeze package drops. Don't buy it necessarily, because you're not going to be able to farm him to get him to the legendaries that you need later on.
And speaking of just purging debuffs from a target, Star Sapphire,
Mm-hmm.
second, purges 4 debuffs from both herself and whoever she heals.
That's right. Yep. She
It's-
is a all-around support character.
It's
She
her
does
legendary,
damage. Yep.
but if you're farming your red alerts, you're refreshing on her days because of her rework, you're going to
Yep.
get her there anyway. So you're going to have that cleanse when you need it for times like this.
She's one of those characters that does it all. She does decent damage. She debuffs the hell out of your team, out of the opponent's team, and she's support for your team. She can heal you herself and throw mends for days. And she can purge debuffs. She can do a little bit of everything, and that's love.
Cue
But,
the Frank Sinatra music here.
All right. But no, but so all we're saying is, this is supposed to be about farming the characters that are easy to get. We're not saying don't ever buy the characters you want to get, because I mean the game's got to make money, otherwise there's no game. But we're also going to say, you don't need to. This game, these characters, are a decent roster of characters that will help you get through the beginning of the game to mid-tier game, and that way you're ready to start getting those more rare characters.
The only advice I will ever give about going from one of the milestone gaps to the next one, and when I say milestone gaps, is if you just started out and you're going to 40 gear 6 or 7, stay there for a little bit. Start gathering your resources. 50 gear 9, stay
Mhm.
there. start leveling not only, or I'm sorry, not leveling, but start gathering not only your resources at this point, but your legendaries and everything else, because you're right at that point where the whole package starts to come together.
Yep.
And moving up without certain aspects to that puts you at a severe disadvantage. Or if you're like running myself, you just start leveling and doing the things you need to be doing, and then you're at a severe disadvantage anyway because you're in between two stop gaps, and the game
And that,
hates you.
and that's still going to happen. Like once you start moving into another tier of the game, you're going to struggle. It's frustrating. I'm doing it right now. I'm actually starting to G11 my tunes, and I have hit a stone wall in certain areas, and I am beating my head off of it, and it's frustrating. But at the same time, I know there is getting to the other side of that stopgap, and once I get there, the game's going to change for me.
I pushed myself to that with Star Sapphire over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So what went from being decently achievable Wraith boards went from, oh cool, I have 0 teams on my board that are under 20k now. Unless they're bot teams, I have the most eclectic group of level or power level 20k and above teams on the board. And it's like, great, I have counters for this, but now it's all RNG dependent because we're pretty much even. And it's just because she boosted the power of my top 4 up, and that put me right into the bracket.
Mm-hmm. Yep, moved into another bracket. I just got moved into another bracket because if I put my most powerful team characters on one team, I'm at 32k. So my PvP boards are 32k plus now, and I'm like, oh no. But at the same time, I just it's another wall to get past, and it's growing pains of the game, and that's just the way it goes. But all right. So any other taunters we want to bring up? I think I brought up all the taunters. Oh no, I did. I missed one.
Go ahead with the one. Yeah, Power Girl. I was actually going to say
Power
her.
Girl. She is a taunter that you can farm in red alerts.
And I was going to say Power Girl for the fact that, yeah, while she is somebody you should farm and can farm, she is a bit weak before getting to her legendaries. And
but once you get there.
Yeah, but once you get there,
woo!
She is Power Girl for a reason.
She
It's like I had
her attacks a lot of times.
Yeah, I had her before the legendary mark and was like, I don't get everybody's opinion of this. Then went against the legendary one. I was like, all right, so we're farming her.
Yeah, I only have her at L2, and I still love her at L2. So I can't wait to get her past L2.
Yeah, I have her at L3, and I'm like, I really want to keep going with that.
Yeah, she's worth it. She is worth it.
And she's not a character that, yeah, sure, as you get towards end, everybody tapers off, and you're going to start seeing that. But as you're going through trying to level,
come up a little bit more often now, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to see her a bit more often.
Well, and as you're going through campaign, she's perfect for campaign. Hitting underneath shields, all that matters at early game. All that matters at, especially from late early game to almost beginning mid game, hitting under shields can just win you matches. Absolutely. Which is why I wish Kilowog was farmable, because he can do that on his basic. And that would solve a lot of
your buffs while hitting under shields.
Right. That would solve a lot of late early game, early mid game issues for people.
Yep.
But I can't even suggest dropping the gems on him when he's in the shop right now, because he's too new and he hasn't hit that, wow, that's too good of a deal to pass up phase yet.
Right.
But I wish he did. Like, I wish.
I know. You were going through. I was talking to you off recording, and I was like, "You're like, I really want to get Kilowog. I really want to do it, but he's so expensive."
It's like, can I justify 22k gems for 500 shards of him, which would get him to L4, almost L5 for me? And it's like, but those are 22k gems that I could put in the lower half of my roster and get everybody up to gear 9. And that way I have a variety of characters to move up to gear 10 with me when I need to.
Yep.
Or do I just drop 22k on farming everything, including legendaries for people, and just take up what I already have? So
I was lucky during his event, because I got him to L4 during the event, and then PvP hit and I got him to L5. So I didn't sleep on Kilowog.
The only reason why I have him at L3, I believe already. Yeah, I have him at L3 half, or actually 3/4 of the way um, through L4. So he's 156 at 240 for me, and it's just like I wish he was on these farmable lists because he would be the next to immediately, because of his skill set, because of the fact that he has that selectable stun
Yep,
that
yep.
you can open the fight with, and
I'm gonna
yeah,
hit you in AOE, but this guy's getting stunned.
and we're reducing turn meter while doing it.
Yep. But yeah,
Tangent,
sorry
sorry.
about the tangents about other characters, guys. But this is the things that you're going to be looking at as you enter from mid game up. Mid game forward, you're going to start looking at the other characters and stuff like that. What this is meant to do is to get you to that point where you can start looking at the more rare characters. You want a balanced roster. You want a roster that's going to help you play the game, and that way, when you're ready, you can start getting the more rare tunes and start expanding on that roster.
A good point was made during the anniversary challenge, that, and especially during the hero challenges, and we can thank some of our newer players, who we all know, one of them who streams with
Yep,
us, which is Lumina, who
yep.
pointed out
My
that
darling wife.
who pointed out that as you're going through the hero challenge, yes, you'll get to a certain part in there and you'll be able to cut off, but most of those, especially the ones for new heroes that are dropping, you can still farm those specific nodes that drop their shards every day, and you
Yep.
can wind up getting, might not be as much as everybody else with getting to L5 or Rebirth Run right off the right off the bat, but
Yep.
you might get them to R5, regular 5 stars, regular 4 stars, and they're still solid enough at where they're at for their come around again for either packs or another 6 day or however they work it, where
Because they'll
you can
come around
finish
again.
exactly where you can finish
Yeah.
them off like Hawk Girl. I started when Hawk Girl was a thing. I got her to 3 stars. When her event came back around, I finally had to roster to take her all the way up to L3.
Yep.
And it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, finally moving up in this world. And then the next hero challenge was like, let me smack you back down to Earth, son.
Right.
Because I
I need
had like
to. I
4 of
got
the
her.
characters.
Yeah, I got her to L3 too from her event, and I need to slow gear her and get her leveled up because I'm running into those stun teams and they're too good to pass up. Got to do it. All right, so we've covered the taunters, I think.
Yeah.
Next is what MMO players like to call the DPS, or the straight up damage. I'm going to hit you in the face. The top of this list, in my opinion, and I know the endgame players are going to laugh, Batman Cape Crusader. The reason why I say Batman Cape Crusader, you get to level 20 in the game, you have a friend with a code, L1 instantly.
Plus, he's one of your earliest unlocked physicals in the game,
He's so
outside
easily
of
farmable.
Deadshot.
Yep.
He's one of the
He's one of the
first.
easiest to farm. Um, you get someone with a friend code, L1 instantly. He is going to be your first legendary one. And there's, even if it's not someone you know, you hit the Reddit, you hit online. Like, anyone got a friend code? Because they're going to want the gems too.
Yeah, unless they've hit their 10 referral cap, it's 1,000 gems for the person who refers you, it's 3,000 for you, and 200 Batman shards.
Yep. So welcome
And
to L1 Batman Cape
yeah,
Crusader, and as my lovely wife Lumina Dragon likes to say, he is boots to asses.
he really is, because once he hits that invisible spot, he's critting left and right, and he's got the typical assassin build. So
Yep.
the second he does the boot to face, it's instantly almost one-shotting unless he's got affinity disadvantage against greens. But even then, he's doing significant damage to where someone else can just pick them off next turn.
I mean, on top of the fact that you can get him to L1 instantly, he has several nodes in the campaign, and you can get him from the red red PvP shards. He's a common. He's going to come up.
Oh god, he was my this is sad but true, but he was my first L5, and he's probably gonna wind up being close to one of the first ones I can rebirth because his shards were just everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen people rebirth him. I mean, say what you will about the character as a whole needing a rework or whatnot, but his kit does solid work. I
Oh,
mean, it's not going to be, once you reach endgame, he's not going to be the first guy you bring in, but he has a spot.
Say what you will about reworks, but everybody's going to get one at some point. And
Yeah,
people are going to get 5. But
as the game evolves, people are going to get reworks, and
yeah,
you're going to see Superman get like 5 more reworks. So
Superman will get an additional 3, and then Batman will finally get his first one. And
Batman CC, that's
yeah.
the other ones of because the Dark Knight, as you love to call him, already got a rework. Actually, didn't he get like 2 reworks, or is it only 1?
I think it's only 1, but don't quote me on that because
Wasn't his original Infinity red when he was released, and now he's green?
Yeah.
So he did. That was a rework.
Yeah,
So,
I wasn't around for that, so thank God.
I'm just going back from what people have said in the past. But anyway, moving on. Batman Cape Crusader, don't sleep on him because he's going to be a great red toon for beginning and mid game. Bane is another one because he's just easy to get, and he does work. He's going to be one of those ones that you might taper off at some point, but he's easy to get and he hits hard. He does his job. He is campaign farmable and red shard farmable from the PvP.
Then there's the specific diamond in the rough that is out there in Huntress.
Yep.
Who I knew you were going to get to, but
she was my next one actually. That was pretty good.
Between her and I will say it. I thought about not, but I will say it. Even though I think she's even at a disadvantage, much like we were talking about with some of the other ones, is Catwoman.
Yep.
Both diamond in the rough characters.
Yep.
Huntress, everybody kind of knows what she does with having the heal immunity on basic when she hits legendary, or actually not basic, but every turn she does something on her kit. And just being able to, when you get her to high legendary, she just ignores so much, even affinity disadvantage.
Not to mention when the enemy team is almost the toon's almost dead, she'll snipe them. She'll attack out of turn and snipe them.
She will attack out of turn and snipe, and because it's still technically her turn, that heal immunity goes up, revive stop.
Yep.
So nice counter.
Great assassin toon.
Yes, and a nice counter to the Swamp Thing revives, the White Lantern Sinestro revives you see out there, the Cersei revives, Grundy. Even
though she's at affinity disadvantage, but if she can get that kill shot in, he ain't coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, I've got Yellow Lantern Sinestro. And there's a pause.
There's a pause because it's like for every time I want to say no, he's not great for early game or any game or just why, he actually is. Yep. He's not bad. He just could be so much better.
But he's easily farmable, and that's the point.
But
yeah.
But he is again awarded for just beating the first campaign. Like the first chapter of the campaign, he's just awarded to you for that.
He's the third node in chapter 1.
He's the fourth node in chapter 1's heroic, but I want to say he's actually unlocked just by beating chapter 1's. I'm sorry, not chapter. Yeah, chapter 1's full chapter. At the end of it,
good memory because I don't remember any of that nonsense.
Yeah, he's awarded to you for that, and Deadshot's awarded to you for I think chapter 2, doing the normal nodes there. They're basically just handed to you, and they're two solid characters.
Yep.
Little tapered off towards the end, yes, but I have seen.
I see him often in endgame.
I see enough people use him in endgame to where I'm like, all right, he's to coin the phrase role player. Yeah, he's a role player in teams, and all right.
His AoE's pretty good. It does some damage.
If I can get his legendary costume reworked to where he's not a flying banana, that would be great, though.
I spend the 1,000 gems and go back to his basic.
I hate to be stuck on aesthetics, but that one.
Oh my god, he looks like a WoW character.
God, that one is like
his shoulders.
Yeah. For those who will get this reference, thanks for making Burning Crusade yellow.
Right.
I needed more yellow Burning Crusades instead of green.
Yep.
It's just,
All
I don't know.
right,
It's
so
just
next up, the next two are going to be pretty obvious because they're hard slappers. They're only red alert farms, but they come up often. I'm going to start with the mystical version, and that is going to be Etrigan.
absolutely.
Yep.
He's another one that doesn't technically need his legendaries to be great, but as he gets his legendaries, good luck. Just
Oh
good
my
luck
god!
stopping him.
Once he ramps up, it's game over, man. Like, is he counterable? Yes, he is. Once you get up there, he is easy to counter. But if he does his work, he gets going. He can obliterate teams because he can attack at a turn. He's constantly buffing himself and overhealing himself, and giving himself an intelligence stack for days. It's just he's ludicrous. He goes um, from sublight to plaid, and it's just he's gone plaid, sir.
Yeah, you're seeing me make the face because I'm looking at my speed chart for him, and I'm like, I know he's up towards the top. Yeah, he's 122, so
Yeah.
he's Superman level speed,
Yep.
and he's unlocked hella early to get there really, really fast when it comes to it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, do not sleep on Etrigan.
I feel like Etrigan was
I
what they
did.
tried to do with Vandal Savage's kit, with getting him to ramp, but they
I was
failed.
wondering if we were going to get through an entire stream without you mentioning Vandal Savage.
But but I'm going to bring up a good point here on this one
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's not so much a rag or a troll on Vandal. It's
Right.
pointing out what one character does in the case of fast ramp to
Yep.
what another one tries to do doing the same thing but fails because the ramp takes longer.
And his passive ability, even without a legendary, gives him true sight.
Right.
So
And
Torture's what?
you've got okay, so the passive for Gongano form of man on Etrigan. 30% chance to use Merlin's Mystic Shield and gain crit immunity on enemy death.
And that's not base.
Yeah,
That's
that's
base.
base. That's not even with the extra 5 intelligence up he gets on legendary from that.
And that's not ringed either.
Yeah, that is not
Yeah.
ringed for me at all.
That's not ringed because it goes up 10% every level up to level 8.
And
So
then
it starts at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90.
okay, he
It
gets
goes to
100%.
100%.
He gets
Yeah.
100%, and I've had him go against me where he's actually under the he's actually under geared compared to my roster. And once he gets those 100% stacks where somebody gets lucky and gets crit and dies, he goes off. And he goes off into his own little world where he just forgets that he's under geared and underpowered and winds up, if I can't control him, just wiping me.
Yep.
Because that's how he is. He's that strong.
You got to get him early. You got to get him early before it's too late.
But no, I like the comparisons to other characters because there are certain kits that kind of match up with each other, like Etrigan, Artemis, to
Yep.
an extent. To an extent, and thanks for hate pointing this out one day, Damian Wayne Robin matches
Yep.
into that, where they get
Yep.
stronger as things die and they start getting their boost and based off of that. And I
Azrael's another one. Like Etrigan's like an Azrael in that regard.
and here come the Nerf Azrael quotes.
You're not gonna see me sing that.
No, because that brings us to our next point of Catwoman, which is the free-to-play counter to him
Yep.
because of her skill set and the fact that I'm going to flaunt this, she's 1 speed faster than him. And that's all
Yep.
that matters. She's 1
Yep.
speed faster than him, and that's all that matters at the end of the game when it comes to that.
Yep.
Because she will instantly, and really, I'm going to say this because I'm going to deviate from the legendary order on her. I went 3 twice and then 1 instead of 3, 1, 3 because her third, if hit and run, instantly allows her to steal all awareness and true sight from the target and purge 5 buffs if target has a positive immunity, which he does most of the time.
Right.
So hey, guess what? She just completely neutered him. On top of then stunning him, so even if something doesn't, work right with that, she's just stole the awareness, she's just stole his true sight, she's purged all the buffs. he can't do anything. He now
Right.
has a base 50% chance to counter and all of that. He's out of the fight, which
Yep.
means the next powerful character that you come up, which hopefully is a green, can just take him out.
Yep.
And that's the answer right there. That's the
And
answer that everybody's looking for.
speaking of damage dealing greens, the last on my list for the hard damage is another red alert only farm, and that is the man, the myth, the legend, Arcus.
I feel like we need a separate. We need a separate. Like everybody has their own. What's a great word for it? Class in this game with tank, DPS, support, whatever. We need a just different class for that, and it's just Arcus class.
Right. I probably should have had him in the taunter area actually because he is a taunter, but he just slaps. I mean, he's not a turn zero taunter, and that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't put him on the taunter
Probably
list.
for the best.
Probably for the best, yeah. But like every time he hit, like as you get him more powerful, every time he hits, he buffs up strength wise. That enables a Lex Luthor lead. His challenge gives him death immunity and debuff immunity, and then he just gets a huge stack of strength ups. If you team him up with Kilowog with the enhanced strength ups, his buff gives him more strength ups and shields. It's just like I'm going to hit you in the face, sometimes twice.
Also, let's not forget that with the Kilowog buff, he also gets shields on top of that,
Yep.
which and again boosts his basic damage. So
Yep.
it's like, okay, great. Now I have to worry about whether or not I've stunned Kilowog or, and I brought up stun, sorry, stun guy here.
But if he's challenged, you can't stun him
Right.
because of debuff immunity. So you got to get him early. He's one of those ones you can't let him pop off because as soon as he taunts, he's death immune, he's debuff immune, and he's death immune. So even if you have him at one hit point, he's still there. Sorry, my wife was getting my attention for a second.
No, you're fine. And the best part about that is that's where going back to having that strong support in Star Sapphire comes into
Yes.
play. Because
Yep.
that third debuff immunity, oh, please do challenge, issue challenge to me.
It does
Because
nothing.
it's not a challenge anymore, because not only is he not getting his buffs, he then hits like a wet noodle because he's so debuffed in the process.
Because
So
you get strength downs. Yep.
it goes back to previous must farm characters that we have answers.
Yep. There are
It-
answers to the Lex lead. There are answers to the Arcus damage. There's answers to Etrigan. There's answers. Yeah, and it's all from one character. And that's the best part about it. It's one character that can counter all these characters.
Right, and the other part about it is, and I'll get into the farm here for, because I know we're wrapping up pretty much the characters that we wanted to talk about anyway.
This is the background farm, and then that's
Yeah.
it.
And before touching on the background farm, this is the reason why we talk about legendaries being so important. And taking the time to farm out those legendaries, because if you go in with a L1 Star Sapphire and you've only made one choice, and I hope the choice is putting the debuff immunity on the third, if not, okay, fine. I'm sorry, there's not much I can help you with, but please get to L2 and put that on the debuff immunity for the third.
Preferably get to L3 before you make this push.
Right. That's where those comments come in at, because if you start making that push without the certain legendaries or legendary skills or them ready for that, you still don't have the answers you're looking for going forward. And
Yep.
yes, it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, but I've heard those comments from mid-game players for months, reading all 18 discords that we have, reading our own Discord,
The Reddit.
listening to streams, listening to you guys talking streams amongst yourselves about it, because sometimes I know I'm bad for it because I'm in the middle of a fight not paying attention, but there's still that conversation going around about, do I make the push now? No, because you have a L1 Lex and you need at least L3 to make an impact when you get higher up.
Should you make a push at some point? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
you should. Experience the entire game,
Yes, please
but
don't.
do it when you're ready.
Yeah, let me caveat this. Please don't sandbag,
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah.
getting to that point where I'm starting to see the frustrations
Yeah.
of the people talking about sandbaggers, because there's so many guys out there that are at 50, 60 max gear rebirth characters that have certain guys pushed above everybody else, and they bring down their team level, and they're at a nice part where their team level, oh, they're 21k just like me, and then you go into the fight and it's like a 8k Black Adam who just rips everybody apart because they've sandbagged in order to get right in the 1500 without being able to be taken out of it. That is, for almost everybody, annoying as all hell and back when you're trying to get through that. And
I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, play the game how you want. Our preference is to see you move forward when you're ready.
Absolutely. And
And I think the community at large would like. We want to see people succeed.
let's break the fourth wall here real fast, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Hate, for putting the disclaimer up, because I'm sure you're going to get some hate for that.
Yeah, because these are the opinions of people that are not completely not affiliated with ROL.
They're holding our broadcast. Please leave all comments about sandbaggers at our mail drop. Come into our streams and yell at us for that, because we've made that.
Better yet, leave it at pretenses because I didn't say it.
Right. Either or, it's fine. But no, I actually
in this regard.
I actually started after the initial "Why are you guys yelling at us for being Gear 9, Gear 10?" and kind of looking back and seeing even the teams I got frustrated with, I was like, "Oh crap, I get it now," because you have people living at that level,
Yep.
without trying to make the push forward, just collecting everything free that they can, getting their characters into high rebirth at those gear levels, which are effectively pushing them to gear 11 anyway.
Right.
And making it harder on everybody else who's trying to make that push up, because we can't do anything.
Yep. But I mean, so I'm never gonna shame people for playing the game they want to play the way they want to play it. But my whole point is experience the entire game. Do what you can to experience the game in its entirety. Play as a newbie. When you're ready, when you feel like you have a balanced roster, when their gear levels are up, when you have them decently ringed, go to the next level. Become a mid gamer.
But big thing, please don't rush yourself in the process.
I know some people like to zerg through games. If that's your style, great. However, you're going to run into problems of unbalanced rosters. And you're going to struggle. Have a balanced roster. Make sure you have several of each affinity geared up, ringed up, and leveled up. And then push to the next level. And start gearing those characters again. And start leveling those characters again. Get yourself in a rhythm. A steady rhythm. I say slow, and I'm not going to say slow, but steady. Steadily increase your character roster.
Also, if you are mid-game,
and we're getting preachy, so
yeah, I'm gonna switch the subject here. If you're getting to mid-game and you're getting your first legendary characters and you're looking for legendary order, yes, there's a legendary order guide out there. Yes, it is great to base your decisions off of and sometimes use depending on the character.
Yep.
But as it's been pointed out even by guys like Joker, if you're going for specific teams, certain legendaries still take precedence over others.
Yep.
At mid-game and late game, because certain teams need certain legendaries to work right.
Yep. Just know the characters. Know the legendaries. And play the game how you see fit. All of these are just our opinions, and it's through our own trial and error, and in some cases, like me, lots of big errors, because my roster was a disaster.
Speaking of errors and people that have made a ton of them, we want to prevent anybody from going down the road that Dante went down, which was burning through 3 different accounts before he got it right.
Oof, and I didn't know about that.
Yeah, and that was something that I've been reading when he was talking about it, and I'm like, all right, dude, you burnt through 3 different accounts before you got the farming aspect right. So maybe we need to come up with a guide of characters that you should farm and explain, okay, cool, so here's Catwoman, here's why you want to farm her, here's her counter for what she does. On the flip side, you already know who counters her because she's red. I mean, we don't have to say Arcus to every red. We don't have to say Arcus to every blue. We don't have to say Arcus to every green.
The counter is Arcus.
Early mid game, the counter is Lex and Arcus. Have fun. But no,
All right, so
it's in
let's
jest,
move to
but
the background farm. So this is a list of background farmers. These are ones with only one node, or they're only in red alerts only. They come up rarely, but they are still farmable. They're just a slow farm. My first on my list is one of my favorite characters, and I'm sad he only has one node, the Flash.
I still don't understand why he only has one node. He should have more as a, again, character you're getting pretty much right when you start the game off with. He's
Yep.
one of the very first unlocks you get, but you have no way of farming him until, jeez, I don't even remember where his node's at. Uh, this is terrible. But no, he's a much later in the game farm. Like,
I just got him to L3, and I've been playing the game since year one.
yeah, I just got him to 5 stars and been playing since April, and I had to buy the $2 pack when it came out for that. But he is the end node of Chapter 4 Heroic.
Yep.
And that is the only one that he has. And I had to actually, I wanted to look that up for a specific reason of not giving wrong information.
Right.
I don't want to say he's like, oh god, he's like Chapter 7. No, he's Chapter 4 last node.
Last node. Yep.
The problem with that is he's also required to have a team that's it's an 8K team that you're going to go up against all together with enemy power. But that's going to take at least a 5 to 6K player power team making the decisions to do that. So he's not one you're going to be able to get right off the bat and farm. Especially probably farm at a 3-star level to where you can just hit auto.
He might be one that eventually you leave to the back burner as you get. Well, you're definitely going to stop using him because he's not easy to farm. But like early legendary, he's great, especially with Lex because he's constantly buffing. There's constant buffs going on, which enables Lex, and Lex enables him by giving him speed ups.
Right, and I was going to say the out of turn attacks.
The out of turn
can get out of hand fast with him.
They don't do a lot of damage, but woo, he can keep going. I like his kit. I like the kit as is. I really enjoy the way they made him. I just got him to L3 because the Blue Lantern Flash skin dropped, and that gave me just enough to L3 him. And I jumped on that immediately and brought him to G10. And I don't regret it, and I'll never regret it. Because now he has debuff immunity every time he buffs.
I jumped after his skin because he is a character I'm going to be working on. It's just, I honestly, he is on my very short list next to Hawkgirl and Black Adam that need more than one node or a secondary way of getting him for new and mid-tier
maybe
players.
rotate out some of the Alliance store characters.
You know what? Just rotate out the 27 nodes that Cyborg has and give me at least one or two for some other characters. Or the same could be said about Harley. Or the same could be said about...
Yep. All right, so next is going to be an obvious one that is Black Adam. So Black Adam you see a lot in the game. A lot of people have him at high legendaries, and he's annoying to fight. He's a good tune. But again, he is Chapter 8 last node. He's expensive to farm.
And has... I'm going to say this, and I'm sorry, this is probably going to be another one of those, oh my god, he just say that comments. He has the worst RNG for that node to continue to farm for somebody who's trying to get through everything and get other characters. That it's just, even to me, he sits at like 3/4 of the way to being unlocked because at that point, for every 3 of him I could farm 6 of the regular Chapter 8 nodes and get better rewards from.
And get green rings.
Yeah, get green rings, get my XP for my account, all of that out of that. Instead of burning 60 on just him and getting maybe 1 shard, I don't know. I've
Yeah.
gone days where 60 energy gets me nothing.
Right. Right. He's incredibly hard to farm. The reason why I have him on my background farm list is that if you can get him, he's a good tune. But it's getting him that's the problem.
It's like if you can get him, he's a
um,
great tune. But
but but good luck getting him. Those people who have been playing the game since year one and have him, awesome, because obviously sales have come up through the years and they're able to buy him up. But slow farming, he's just hard to get.
so yeah, speaking of Black Adam, it is one of those characters where if you can farm him and you can actually get good returns from his node without burning through too many gems to get there, by all means go for it. But if you have the RNG that we have, Jesus. If streamer RNG is a thing, we both suffer from the short end of that stick.
It's true. It's so true. Um, the and if one of your ways to farm tunes is during raids, I mean it's expensive, but you can do it. I wouldn't advise it because there are cheaper ways to farm in raids.
Speaking of raids and farming things for raids, please do not do what I did, which was push for top 500. If you're where I'm at in the game, highly don't advise that. I did that just to see if it was possible. It is, but the cost value to what I got probably would have been easier if I just farmed it without raid going on. To be fair,
did it during an Atom raid.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I did. That's why I got it.
Not just an Atom raid, but a Scarecrow Atom raid.
Atom raid, yeah. All right. We got a few more to go through, and then we will wrap this up. Next up on my background farm is Hawk Girl. Great tune.
Yeah, I can't speak anything but volumes about how awesome she has turned my roster around. Definitely allows you to punch up.
It's because of the stuns. The stuns alone.
The stuns. If she wasn't bugged and she actually got her turn meter off of anything being stunned, would be amazing. Like, she would be non-stop just blasting stuns and taking turns. Am I upset she's bugged still after so many years? It's one of those things where it'll get fixed when it gets fixed. I mean, dead horse beating. Beyond
It may
that,
not get fixed until she gets reworked.
right. On the flip side of that, it goes back to without Manhunter lead, I can't advise farming her from her node unless she's your slow farm.
Right.
Because
Well, that's what all this is. This background farm is all slow farm.
Well, actually, I can't advise that because I am forgetting something because I am being silly. We've got Hal Jordan, who has a stun on his, third?
Yep.
So he actually does become a good lead to have her under.
Yep.
Lex can work because of his speed up when buffs and everything. It just takes a little bit more working in order to get her work that way under him.
Right.
But yeah,
But she's good under Martian Manhunter and Hal Jordan.
Yes.
Yep. And then if you have Kilowog, add that to the mix, and it's just hey, look at my stun squad.
Yeah, there's so many characters that I've wind up switching out depending on the need for it. Yep. You've got Artemis, you can switch in and out. You've got Kilowog, you can switch in and out. Circe, you can switch in and out. Yep. Catwoman, you can switch in and out. I almost said Catgirl
Killer
for some
Frost
reason.
is another stun tune.
Killer Frost is ridiculous.
Yep.
If you're going against heavy reds or just people you want to burn fast, you bring her in and watch as she just constantly out of turn attacks people that are stunned.
And she's another red alert farm.
Yeah,
so that's another background farm. She doesn't come up super often, but she's there.
Yeah, and she's one that when she does come up super often, you just get a ton of shards of her at one time.
Yep.
And if she doesn't come up super often, I still wouldn't be like, hey, drop a bunch of gems on getting her, because no, the next month you'll just wind up getting her.
Yeah. Just don't sleep on farming her is pretty much the story with these background farms. Don't sleep on farming them when you can. It's just that, especially the ones that pop up in red alerts, because those will be easier than the ones that only have one node.
I mean, hell, since starting in April, she's already L4 for me. So yeah, that's how much she shows up without having to reset her every time she's in red alert. So.
Yep. And then there's Wonder Woman, Princess of Themyscira. Only one node. She is a good tune, but I think if you can background farm her, I would still do it.
I did the, holding head in shame moment there
Yeah, you
because I
did.
feel like her one note is great because it's early on, end of chapter
Yep.
3.
Yep.
So she's perfect for just blasting out the energy needed because it's only 48 or 36 for her, one of the two. I think it's 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 36 for her. To just farm her every day and drop the 25 gems to refresh it if you want to. It's not a impact on anything as much as some of the later farms are.
Yep.
But I will go on and say this: most of her deals have sucked. We've seen recently,
Yes, I agree.
and
The anniversary one wasn't bad, but it didn't make me jump on it.
yeah, the anniversary wasn't bad except for the fact that I looked at it and was like, I know what's going to happen if I get this, so let's
Right,
not.
right.
No, if any of the Wonder Woman characters gets a rework outside of Champion of the Amazons, which desperately needs one,
Hmm.
because there needs to be at least one of the 3 characters that shows off her ability to do damage, and that
Yep,
one should be it because that's the character that is designed for that.
exactly.
If any of them deserve a rework outside of her, it would be Princess of Themyscira, only due to the fact that a small stat boost would take her from A to S real fast.
Hmm.
And come on, really, we need at least one of the trilogy in S tier.
One of the Trinity, yeah.
Yeah, we need one of the Trinity in S tier, just one. That's all we're asking for is just one, or at least at a playable level to where I don't have to have Pot in lead in order for her to
Right.
be good.
Yep.
Because there are some way better leads, and I'm sorry for saying that, but there
Again,
are.
another reason why she's a background farm and
Mm-hmm.
not on my farm list. All right, the next 3 are red alert only. They're background farms because even if they come up often, which 2 of the 3 don't, they're still worth farming. So the one that comes up fairly often, and he's a background farm because um, you see him quite a bit, but he's not a priority, at least for me, is Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is a good character. He's a really good character. I've used him before. I enjoy using him, but I have characters that I would prefer to use over him. That being said, I think he's a good one to farm, especially for beginning and mid tier.
I feel like the reason why he is a background farm for me is he takes higher legendaries to get to where he needs to be at.
Yep.
And then on top of that, by the time you get him to where he needs to be, you have a either high damage blue unlocked, like Etrigan, and good to
Hmm.
go,
Yep.
or you already have a high level support blue in Star Sapphire that's taken what he can do and doing it better now.
Right.
So,
He's good in red squads, so if you got White Lantern, Sinestro, him, and Cersei, everyone's coming back from the dead.
I just made a horrible cringe face on that because I don't even want to think about that team.
And then you throw Black Mask into the mix for all the debuffs when
Lord.
you kill the other characters.
Right?
It's awful. I hate fighting it, but I see
Nightmare
why it
squads.
works. It's terrible. It makes me want to break my phone.
Yeah, I just think the issue with Swamp Thing is while he's fantastic and he works well, it's the fact that he just he gets outshadowed fast.
Yes, he does. Yep.
And while good or bad, that yeah, it is what it is with him.
It is what it is. He's still on my farm list. He's still worth farming. I just think eventually you're going to put him on the back burner and you're going to be using other characters. Unless you make that res team your primary team, which I have seen people do. And every time I see it, it makes me cry.
And then at that point, you're probably going to have Chemo at a usable level to put Chemo in that squad, which is going to make people cry even more.
Yep.
So it's
Yep.
like again, he gets even outshadowed in a team that's pretty much designed for him, and I don't know, it's weird.
And yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. All right, next up is the one you've brought up several times, Catwoman. Catwoman is a good background farm. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely.
She comes up in red alerts.
I don't think she's a farm that I would. If it wasn't for Azrael, I don't think I would have cared enough to get her.
But you've seen her come up a couple times, and she
Mhm.
can do some work.
But as you get her unlocked, and as you get her ringed, and as you get her geared, she's got so much working for her that I hate to say to never get her.
Right.
And I laugh at
Again,
that
that's why
because
she's the background farm. Something to work on in the background.
yeah,
And
I
then when you're
mean,
ready to use her, she's good to go.
her basic steals all awareness and true sight. Her third applies stun and purge all buffs. Uh, she's got speed ups. She's got everything, including turning invisible. It's just
She's meant to piss you off.
yeah, it's hard to say don't go for her because she is that necessary counter to Azrael, and she
Now,
is
do we see her a lot in the end game? No.
right.
But again, like counter to Azrael, like you're saying, it sounds like she's a good Martian Manhunter counter as well.
She can
purging
be.
the awarenesses.
She can be.
Yeah.
The only issue she has with Martian Manhunter is the same issue most normal-based damage tunes have. They have
Right.
really low intellect. He just tears them apart.
Right. Yeah.
But
and infinity disadvantage is a thing.
that's like a natural.
Yeah.
That's a natural thing that you're gonna have to deal with anyway. I mean, that's why as much as I want to say, hey, this 6-day challenge with Giganta is something you want to do, but at the same point, I'm like, and take her in front of Lex, who puts up, debuff immunity on her, and she's a sitting duck because she can't get her affinity boosts, and yeah.
Yeah. And then last but not least, another one who has come up at least once during this podcast, Harley Quinn Quite Vexing.
As being raid support, absolutely.
Yep, a good background farm because she does damage. Her kit it works really well.
As being a raid support character for especially low, actually I wouldn't even say just low in early game, for being support from early game all the way up to end game. Mm-hmm. She's been in more squads than I can count, and she's been one of those that, although we still have no idea what the derivatives are for agility downs and all that, and agility ups and everything, she does what she's supposed to when she's in there. She's got the call assist. She's got everything.
She hits hard too.
Yeah.
She can hit. She can slap. She can slap.
Where she's got the apply 3 affinity resist down. She does the true damage bump. She does the extra strength up. That's what she does. She does the extra strength up. Mm-hmm. As well as, don't critical hit. Yeah, she does the ability down like I thought, and calls an assist on her second. Yep. I wish we had, outside of knowing that it's 10% defense, what agility down does. The derivatives would make a lot more sense there. We can kind of, like Doom was talking about, we can kind of gauge that it's going to take X amount of damage off, like maybe 200 or 300 or 400, but having that percentage would be great. Right. But we're at least I'm stat guy.
I'm not a stat guy. I know what my characters can do, and I enjoy playing them.
Exactly.
I'm not a number cruncher.
I'm the stat guy who's like, okay, if I only knew the percentage of that actual damage it took off. Like, we know it's 10% defense down, but is that 300
well, we don't even
damage?
know what the defense stat
right.
is. So.
We have a defense number, so 900, and it takes off 90. Cool. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah, exactly.
Does that mean it takes off, if a move would be 4,000 damage, it takes off 200 from it? Is that where it's taking the 90 off? I wish we knew that part. So we know how many to stack to make a difference, and then you could actually judge and base whether or not you want to continue to use that move or whatever.
Right.
Tangent, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all right. That's all right. Yeah, so that's the end of my list. I don't know if you had anyone else, but that's pretty much... I mean, honestly, it's a lot of characters. It is a lot of characters to farm, but in my opinion, they're worth farming.
No, because then we hit that area where it's like, okay, you really do actually want to farm Alan Scott. Yeah, you really want to farm Mary Shazam. You want to get those guys because they're just phenomenal pieces in teams that can really run asunder when they go off. Right. But, hey, we have no options of farming them, so kind of why discuss it? Especially for early...
Like you said, these are the ones that are easiest to farm.
Right, especially for early players who are looking at that like, I don't even see deals for these guys. What are you talking about?
Right.
We'll talk about those when they come around.
Right. But, I mean, that's all I've got. So, unless you've got anything else, I think we can wrap this one up and wrap it up a nice little bow and get it out to the masses.
And present it to everybody. And then... Oh, actually, I do have one more thing to discuss real fast while we have everybody's attention now that we've rambled for like an hour and something. So...
Hey, this is what they wanted. This is what they asked for.
We do have... Between the two of us, I'm gonna plug this because I think it's time for those that don't know, because various reasons. Maybe you only listen to YouTube videos or whatnot. We both do have streams, and we both do streams from that mid-game perspective, and we both do streams from different parts of mid-game. Drop in.
Sure, yeah.
Ask those questions live, so we have something to... Oh, what's the great way of saying it? Making me forget that my RNG is complete crap and bot teams are killing me. I joke, but not really.
It's easy to find us on Twitch. Just look for our names, which are going to be on the podcast anyway. From what I understand, you'll probably see a link to our Twitches anyway. Definitely drop by when we're on.
And if not, Discord names are the same.
Yep. Drop a follow. That way you'll know when we come online on Twitch. And we're not hard to find.
And if you're really interested in a little bit more in-depth perspective and conversations that aren't getting derailed as much as some other Discords, drop by, ask for the link to our Discord, and have those conversations, because we've already gotten quite a few great ones in there that came down to something like this. So just
and talk
reach
about
out.
any other nerd things you want to talk about, man.
Yeah, it's a safe haven
I'm
for
also
nerds.
a Transformers nut. Come talk Transformers with me. Pretensus is twitch.tv/Pretensus Gaming. I am twitch.tv/Rundown015. Come hang out with us on Twitch, and we can go more in depth into these things. Otherwise, these podcasts would be hours long, and I have a stream to get ready for in 20 minutes. So we gotta wrap this baby up.
We're gonna wrap it up with this one, and the other thing is we both do on our Twitches games outside of DCL. We're turning some days into, we both have done it actually, community days where people from the community are more than welcome to participate in the gameplay, and doing RimWorld series where we're naming characters after viewers, and
we'll do an Among Us Day
something like that. Things that just break the frustrations of everything that we have to go through with DCL. But
it's a labor of love. We get frustrated, but it's a labor of love. We love the game. We love the community.
It's getting frustrated more with the game.
If there wasn't a community to back it up.
Oh yeah.
And obviously thanks to the WROL guys for giving us a platform to talk about this stuff. Remember, guys, Hate Mail's going to say it but in his disclaimer, but our opinions are ours alone. They do not reflect WROL's opinions. If you have anything controversial to say it. Send it to Hate Mail anyway. No, I'm just kidding. Send it to
let us both address the white elephant with that. Neither of us are actually under the WROL banner. We are partnered with them making this podcast, so it's not them you need to yell at.
Yeah, they're putting it on their platform for us. So in a way, they're sponsoring our podcast by giving us a platform to talk on.
Yes.
And we thank them for that. So hopefully
you
guys enjoy this episode. I am Rundown015, and with me for the first 2 episodes so far, unless one of us, just chokes on something and goes away. Pretensus Gaming.
Absolutely. All right.
We're getting punchy now. Let's wrap this up.
All right.
Yeah, everyone have a great night or a great day whenever you're listening to this, and hopefully your RNG is merciful to you than it is to us. And whatever you do, do it with love. Be safe, have fun, all will be well.
And see you guys.
Hi, this is Kitty Little. Thank you for listening to this episode of WROL broadcast. If you liked the show, please check out patreon.com/WROL broadcast and find out how to get cool perks. You know, I sent Kage nudes. He thought I was cold and sent me a shirt. Thank you, Kage.